Hello, welcome back everyone. You're logged into Tech Live London 24 and it's time for our final interactive panel. And we're talking the future of generative AI. Now at this stage, as we've said throughout the day, it's up to you if you'd like to fire any questions through to our panelists. You can use the app. They come straight through to me in the studio and I'll be really pleased to put your questions to our panel as we go along. So just use the app, get your questions in as the discussion goes forward. Let's go straight on and talk the future of generative AI. No small subject. Your panelists are Ebru Binboga, Director of Data AI and Automation at IBM UK. We have David Shepherd, Senior Vice President, Europe, Middle East and Africa for Ivanti. Prerak Garg, Senior Director of Cloud and AI Strategy at Microsoft. And Kristie Grinnell, Senior Vice President and Chief Information at DXC Technology. So that's our panel. Hello all four, thank you so much for joining us right now for the last session of our event. I think I'm going to ask the biggest question first, and I don't know how on earth we can answer it in under 45 minutes. What are the main advancements that we think that we are going to see in generative AI in the next 5 years? Who wants to start that one off? I don't know who to pick on. Well, look, I'm going to have to pick on somebody. Prerak, may I ask you to kick off?
So I think what we have seen so far is that generative AI is serving as an assistant, right? Like it's serving as a co-pilot. I think what we'll see in the next 5 years is we'll move towards more automation, if you will, right? Like so, I don't know if you guys have seen the recent demo of Devin AI. It's a software engineering AI, so it actually completes end-to-end tasks without you interrupting. It can actually, like, you can ask it to build a website, it'll build the website end-to-end. There are, like, edge cases and there are gaps in the product, but it sort of shows the future in a way, like where this is headed, like in terms of more automation, more agentic capabilities, where AI can actually perform all the mundane tasks for you. So I think that's the direction we're headed to in the short term.
Okay, Kristie, can I ask you to pick up from your experience? What do you think we're going to see in the next 5 years?
Yeah, I would just add, when you think about generative AI, you really think about it as a CIO from two perspectives. The first one is, how is it going to help us with the efficiency and driving new process, new data for us from an operational perspective in an enterprise, right? And that's where there's so much focus from technology today. A lot of our SaaS vendors, a lot of our big names, the Microsofts, the AWS of the world, they're really focused on building generative AI into the tools that we already use to make us more efficient. So I think that's one thing, is that we're going to see Gen AI helping us to become, as enterprises, more efficient in the way that we work. I think the other area that we really need to look at is, how is Gen AI really going to help us to become more innovative? Innovative in how we research, innovative in how we create new solutions. You think about it from a coding perspective, from a data perspective. Think about all the sciences and pharmaceuticals and medical research, and how we can use generative AI to help us come up with new solutions and things. So I think really those are the two aspects, from an operational efficiency and from a research and development. And then just when you think about, it opening up the mind share for humans to do the real work. Prerak said, we think about it as an assistant. The more we use it as an assistant to kickstart something, and I'll give you an example in sales, right? We don't want it to write a response to a proposal for us, but what we want it to do is give us the kickstart, the framework of what we're going to be working in, so then we can get really smart and innovative in customizing and tailoring that request for proposal to, or a response for a proposal to someone. So it opens up that mind share to do some really creative, great things in the way that we work. And I think that's where we're going to see that not only is Gen AI going to open up new possibilities, employees, but humans in using Gen AI as an assistant are really going to have more time and mind share to be kickstarted through the use of generative AI.
Kristie, I just want to pick up, forgive me, Ebru, it's just something that Kristie said really chimed with some themes we've had throughout the day. So can I pursue one line, Kristie, with you? You were talking about how AI is being used as an assistant to assist human decision making. And we heard earlier from a speaker involved in clinical research that AI is being used to inform clinical decisions and to inform drug trials, but it's absolutely not being used to take clinical decisions. Now, how important is that, do you think, and I can see people nodding it, how important is that for in the future to give people like me and employees confidence?
I think that's the line for all of us, and why everybody is cautiously optimistic about generative AI, right? There's so much to think about from an ethical, a legal, overall responsibility that we have as technicians to be using generative AI. We want to do so responsibly, and so you would never want technology to take over that decision. It's not going to have that human emotion that you're going to put towards something, or the core value system that people might have in using the technology to do something. So we don't want it to be the decision maker, but we do want it to help provide us decisions. And at DXC, we take that really responsibly. As an example, I'm the executive sponsor for our Office of the AI, which is meant to ensure that we are putting all of those humans around it and saying that the human has to be in the middle of that. You have AI helping to inform and provide you information. You also have other inputs from other humans that you're working with, and your core values and your company values and laws and regulations that you have to work with. But the human is the only one who can make that final decision and really bring the final product to the table.
Thank you. Ebru, I think I rather rudely sort of leapt in through with my excitement that next question. Which one do you want to answer? The future of Gen AI in the next 5 years, or that human impact?
We can move on to the next question, but I would like to take a couple of minutes just to add some color on the advancements.
Yeah, please.
We have talked mainly about the technology side of it, right? Pure technology point of view, but I also would like to mention that there will be a huge shift in terms of the mentality on how we apply AI. So at the moment, we all know that we are at a unique time at AI, and AI is the opportunity of a lifetime. But the question here is going to be, how are organizations going to take advantage of it? So what we observe now is organizations are running their standard processes and doing business as is. And just at the end of getting everything done, they have the tendency to add AI on it, or they just say, hey, let's add some AI on it so that we can put a tick in the box. Yeah. It can be considered as one of those futuristic companies, innovative organizations that have already adopted AI. But these organizations, or this way of thinking, will totally change in the next decade. You asked for the 5 years. It might take a little bit longer time. So we believe we are going to move from the world of plus AI, so get everything done and then add some AI, to AI first mentality. The organizations that have adopted an AI first mentality in terms of how are they training people, how are they changing the culture when it comes to AI, and how are they putting the things into production while having a guarded model in place in terms of ethics, bias, trust. These organizations are going to be the winners of the next era. And of course, around all of this, AI first mentality and how you apply AI and culture changes, we are definitely expecting in this space more regulations due to responsibility and ethics related concerns.
Thank you. David, well, I've waited a long time to come to you, so forgive me.
That's all right.
What do you foresee in your crystal ball?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? I think about this a little bit, and I think we're at it's funny, the assistant comment around, we talk to a lot of people around automation, insight, decision making, simplifying things, all these things that AI is bringing and people are doing now. And then I thought, and then you think, well, actually in 5 years' time, we've got a technology that's going to cross over from the personal from the business into the personal world, right? You can go to barbecues today and have conversations about AI. I can't necessarily go to barbecues and have conversations about automation, right? So it's really crossing over. And if we look at where kind of the web browser was in 1990, just starting out, and 35 years later, everybody interacts with a web browser. Typically, they do it on their phone that's got a camera in it, right? So if we start to think, and I think Microsoft today, actually, they announced hardware-enabled AI, right? So there's this crossover happening, right? So that's going to make AI huge, which makes what Ebru said about the ethics piece, that's going to play up. There's going to be a lot of industry-related AI as well, and I think there's going to be, AI is going to be everywhere, and so the control is very important over the next few years. But it is going to make tasks simpler. It is going to benefit. Something Kristie said, actually, we say human intelligence and intelligent technology is the best combination, right? And I think as AI catches up with how fast humans interoperate, then I think it's a really difficult question to say where we're going to be in 2 years' time, I think, let alone 5 years' time. But it brings up some really interesting dynamics. But that speed of development now we're going to see kick on hugely in the next 5 years.
Can we tease out some of the issues around ethics? Do we have the right guardrails in place? Are we there yet, or is it a forever evolving agenda? I mean, should people like me be worried, David?
Yes, definitely we are. We're at the start of that, really, whether it's ethics, whether it's governance, whether it's do we need middleware in between to actually control what we're doing? Is that going to slow the rate of AI down as we introduce this? I think data accuracy of where we're sourcing information from, the bias in that information, there is huge amounts. I don't think anyone should be, I think we need to be aware. I don't like using the word worried, because I think that sounds a negative. But if we're not aware of it, and comments that Ebru made, then it could be uncontrollable, and that's what we don't want. We will need control, and we will need governance around it. What that looks like in 5 years' time could be different. Will definitely be different to what it looks like today.
Ebru, you raised this, so presumably IBM is working on this agenda hugely.
Yeah, definitely. This is, in fact, at the front-end center of our Gen AI developments and go-to-market model. So at the moment, what we see in terms of showstopper for organizations to adopt AI is safety concerns, hallucinations, bias, and it might be various other PR nightmares. They turn into a PR nightmare, right? But also there is a responsibility, aggregate responsibility, which is impacting the whole community, right? And as a vendor, we believe that we should assure that organizations who are using our solutions are using trusted data in their models. So a big part of trust is transparency, and transparency in the data to train the models. Therefore, we published a paper where we are showing the data. It is it's accessible by the public. We are showing the data that we used to train the models and how we curated it, how it is created. So, and interesting enough, I think it's a very good example, going back to your question on the ethics and responsibility. When we were training our data, before we got to the latest point, 3/4 of that data was removed because that data didn't pass our IBM standards. We found out that the data contained hate, abuse, things that come from blacklisted URLs, because we have now 19 research centers across the world in different parts of the world, from Asia to North America, Europe, Middle East, even Africa. And what we are doing is that we are collecting data from all over the world, and we have a tool called Detector that's used to train the models, as well as removal and highlighting the content that has hate element in it. So that's the way that we avoid bias. So you cannot have bad data in your models. This is our principles. And organizations will never ever use AI unless they can trust the outputs that will be accurate, that will be explainable, free from bias, and compliant with regulations. That is our main approach.
Prerak, if ever there was an organization that must surely have concerns around ethics at the forefront, is perhaps a company like Microsoft, which interacts so directly with us, the public. How can we have confidence in everything that you're doing to look after our interests?
Yeah, so I mean, what Ebru was saying was true. Like, your AI is as good as the data it's trained on. So it has to be, I think it's the responsibility of the model builder to make sure that your model is fair, it's reliable, it's safe and secure. And that's where I think Microsoft uses this framework called responsible AI, talks about fairness, reliability, safety, privacy, security of the model. And we encourage all the enterprises using our AI to use similar framework. And we do a lot of diligence on the companies who want to use Azure OpenAI. What is the use case they're trying to build? Will it be used for malicious purposes, right? So we have heavy monitoring of how this might be used. And if we find that this is used for wrong purposes, we might sort of, remove that company from our platform. So it's we're very diligent, and it's the responsibility of the platform provider to make sure that the model is trained on the right data. It's fair, it's reliable, and then also make sure that the use cases that it is being used for are not used for harming the public.
Absolutely. I mean, as an end user, I see the real prospect this year: fake electioneering, fake news, all sorts of things. The products of Gen AI. What are companies like yours, Prerak, doing to protect people like us and our society?
Yeah. So as I said, it's the responsible AI framework, and we are very passionate, and that's how we sort of differentiate our AI, making sure that our AI tools and capabilities are not used for these nefarious purposes like building deep fakes, right? And some of the things, making sure that we have digital signatures in terms of what's built using AI, what's not built using AI, and making sure that if something is generated using our AI, we make sure that we have digital signatures to find out and filter out that, and nothing of this nature is publicized on our platform, right? So any platform company like Microsoft, Google, Facebook, we have to sort of diligently monitor the platform for these activities and make sure that AI is used in a safe manner.
Prerak, thank you. That's what we want to hear. We've had a whole lot of questions coming in from people watching this. So Kristie, if you'll excuse me not firing that ethics question to you, may I fire a different question to you that's come in from our audience? One person has asked, whilst Gen AI seems to excel in narrow tasks, it lacks the general understanding for complex, multi-dimensional societal challenges. True or false? Will it ever bridge that gap?
So I think we need to remember that we're on a journey here, right? This generative AI is so new to our space, and just like all other technologies, whether it's regular AI, if you will, or when we first started looking into cyber, or when we first started going to the cloud. This is a journey that we are all on together. Now, this one's moving very fast and it's exciting, which is what we need to remember. So while we're solving more simple problems now, we're going to absolutely, as we solve the data problem, as we solve some of the, ethical, concerns that we have, we are going to start to see that we're able to do more and more with this technology as we go. But it's a journey that we're on, and we need to think about what that looks like together. And I just want to, I do want to touch on the ethical piece of this a little bit, is that those of us on this call all come from corporations that take the responsibility, the ethical responsibility, the legal responsibility of AI, regardless, generative AI, et cetera, very seriously. Our threat actors do not. So when we think about that, things like deep fakes and how we might use generative AI is absolutely something we all need to be solving for now, because our threat actors are getting smarter with Gen AI just like we are, and they don't have the same rules. So when we think about that, well, we're solving some of the simple problems now with Gen AI, like we're going to start moving into those more complex problems and think about how we do that. Our threat actors will as well. And so we'll have to get even smarter as we do this together and really accelerate this journey together.
Thank you, Kristie, very much indeed. David, how about you? Gen AI excels in narrow tasks but can't take on these more complex, multidimensional challenges. How soon will that be a question that doesn't apply today?
Yeah. Something Kristie touched on earlier about governance committees. We have a governance committee in Ivanti that again focusing on AI and the ethics behind it, and I think that will potentially go all the way up, in society into government, right? Because the expanse of where AI can be ethically is immense. So there has to be governance around it. I think about it in the sense that if you look at some of the numbers, they're projecting that by the end of this decade, that AI is going to be sort of up there with the top 25% in terms of how human performs. But that again could come down to performing narrow tasks or responding to certain controlled set of data. So there is always going to be that question of transparency, of trust that we need to stay on. So I think, again, as we are, using other words that we've used already, as we are at the start of a journey with this, the good part is that we are raising questions and we are learning from, other technology booms in the past that have, been exploited, have been attacked, and potentially caught people unaware. So I think, or organizations, should I say, unaware. So I think it's a great question, by the way, and I think there will be some evolution, or there's got to be a lot of evolution within AI before we can fully answer that question. But I believe, and again, talking to people within the industry, those concerns being flagged now can only be a positive.
Yep. Prerak, what's your take?
Yeah, I think so. One of the fundamental paradigm shifts that has happened with generative AI is we have democratized AI, right, in a way. So earlier, if any company had to implement an AI solution or build an AI solution, they have to build a custom model, right? Start from scratch, hire machine learning engineers, build your own AI. Now, not every company in the world can do it, right? You have proprietary data, you have amazing assets, but you just don't have the capability to sort of build that AI. With large language models, I think that's the paradigm shift. In fact, now instead of having very narrow task-specific models, like one model for sentiment analysis, one model for forecasting, you have this general purpose LLM like GPT-4 or Claude. It can do a range of activities. It can perform a range of tasks. So it has made AI generally available to a large set of companies, and they can sort of innovate on top of it. And that's the direction we're moving towards, right? As Kristie and David said, we're still in the very early stages of this evolution, but we're moving in that direction. And that's the direction, from very task-specific custom models to more general purpose models that can do a range of things instead of just doing one thing really good. And maybe where we'll end up is a universe of models where you have these very highly capable foundational models which have general purpose intelligence, but then also maybe some task specific models, and you will need to sort of orchestrate between the two to have high performance on specific tasks, but like give a very good starting point to any company who want to build AI solutions using foundational models.
Thank you.
And I also would like to highlight that I understand that the question was more to organizations looking at projects with Gen AI in the area that would reduce cost for them or increase revenue or improve customer service. But in fact, today, that multi-dimension is already in our lives. Because, for example, even in the UK, we are already experiencing this in the public domain, right? For example, we already completed delivered a project together with NHS Trust using AI from What's Next, which is IBM's Gen AI platform. And NHS Trust in England reduced the rate of no-shows at appointments from 10% to 4%. And this allowed an additional 700 patients every week for the doctors to see. So there are already impacts, and this impact is multidimensional, because you are here, when you think about it, AI is saving British taxpayers billions of pounds by making public sector run more efficiently and productively. And the implications of this will cascade across a bigger community soon. And we are on a journey, as Kristie mentioned, but that journey is expanding with use cases every day, which is basically making everyone part of it.
Huge lessons from healthcare to a lot of other industries. Have any of the people on the panel got any one particular industry or sector which you think has really harnessed AI to the maximum extent so far? Anybody want to leap in?
I'll go. Look, is it an industry? I tell you, in terms of how we approach from a software point of view, let's just say selling as a kind of go-to-market and a sector, in terms of how we engage and partner with our customers now and prospects before they become customers, has definitely benefited from an AI approach. I mean, in simple terms, being able to offer automation, or what we call intelligent automation now, with rather than traditional AI, with Gen AI added on top, that has really benefited. That goes across verticals, actually, in terms of what is benefited. And then I touched on the start around creating awareness inside any organization and any business. The more insight that you can create, the more that is driven by AI, and the more, let's say, it's not always intelligent decisions, it's intelligent suggestions, right? The more suggestions you make mean you get a more informed decision. Applying the human intelligence on top of what intelligent technology gives you, it just means that you're creating those decisions potentially quicker and in a more informed way as well. And overall, those combined, in terms of, even if I just imply that in terms of how we approach organizations that we're partnering, we're more informed. We have more information up front. We are able to tailor content that benefits organizations. There's less informality about it. It creates a good level of formality in a relationship and partnering, and actually brings collaboration closer together, right? So it powers in a lot of respects across industry more human interaction as well, where people think, oh no, it's replacing human elements. It's actually with the power behind it, it's actually bringing human interaction together more as well. So I don't think I specifically answered your question there, but I kind of went around about it in terms of across industry as well.
I think that's fair enough. Kristie, can I ask your perspective on that? I mean, do you think there's one particular sector or industry that really is either making leaps and bounds now, or will be the leader if it's not healthcare?
Yeah, I think technology is the space that you're seeing it, right? When you think about what Gen AI does, you can generate new code, you can generate new content for tickets for your IT help desk in the background, right? There's things that you can do that ethical and responsible piece, creating an answer to somebody's bot on your help desk is not nearly as concerning on, restart your computer as it is for, how do I solve this medical issue and that sort of thing. So I think IT can embrace it in a way that, there's some areas where we can really leapfrog in front of this, and we're doing so. We see, I said it before, every SaaS vendor is building some sort of generative AI concept into their software so that we can start to use it. And they're doing it in small steps that will eventually grow into much bigger and bigger steps as we go for us. And a lot of them are starting on the help side of things and then the coding side of things as well, which is really exciting for where we go. But the other area that I think is really intriguing, that there's a ton of potential, and we're starting to see it, is in marketing, where creating content, video, images, things like that you can use, where all of a sudden your brand campaign, if you put a voice and some parameters around that, you can start to build such a faster brand campaign that just needs to be checked by the final marketers, that you're going to be able to really churn through multiple campaigns and projects that much faster. And we're already starting to see that by, things coming out on the web and that sort of thing. And you have, like, when you look at, TikTok and Facebook and Instagram, like, people are saying, like, was this AI or is this not, right? Yeah. And they're looking for, like, the images that have been created and that sort of thing to, like, was somebody, missing a collar on their shirt because it was created through AI. Like, we already see that these things are being created, but we're going to continue to get smarter and faster. But that content for marketing is something that I think is really going to explode here soon.
Prerak, you must be seeing that in your particular industry. And is there any hope for us human beings?
It's AI is a good assistant, and as I said, in certain cases where the tasks are repetitive, it can actually automate, which is good. Like, it'll improve productivity. It'll help us to focus on something which is more creative and add more value to humanity, if you will. And just building on Kristie's thoughts, I think, like, two industries if I have to pick up, it's software development and healthcare. Like, these are massively transforming using AI. I was at HIMSS conference recently, which is one of the largest conferences on healthcare IT. Every company from Epic, Philips, Siemens, Google, Microsoft, everybody is talking about generative AI. They were showcasing generative AI use cases that they have built in last 12 months. 2 years ago when I went there, nobody was talking about AI, right? So that's a massive, massive shift. And I think healthcare as we know it will completely change. For example, in the US, there's a legal requirement for the physician to record or document the patient visits. And it used to take 2 hours every day for a physician to document the visits, which is taking away precious time that they have to see patients. And now with AI, they can just do it in seconds, right? So it is giving back 2 hours to these physicians. They have better work-life balance. They can actually focus more on the patients. Similarly, in coding, it's not like software engineering jobs are going away. It's just like making them more productive. They don't want to migrate the old mainframe code to Java, right? Let AI do it. Let them build new applications, right? And so there is no hope lost for human beings, just like enhancing our capabilities as any other past technological paradigms have done. So, these are the two industries I think will see major impact. But one other difference between traditional AI and generative AI, like, it's impacting every industry because it's making everybody more productive. So the impact is wider than one specific industry, but these are the two which comes to the top of my mind.
I'm relieved and reassured, Prerak. Thank you. I've got to take some questions from some people. Ebru, do you want to just come in on that?
I think okay, if we were having this conversation maybe 1 or 2 years ago, we could just name an industry or two, right, as the pioneers who are taking this. Software is definitely there, no one can deny that. But if we look industry specific, in any industry like banking, media, sports, public domain, we just see this getting embedded in such a pace that it is really difficult to say. And as we are talking about the future of Gen AI, it will be very, very difficult to say that this industry is adopting the technology, Gen AI technology, faster than the others. Because we started to develop so many projects in organizations where we didn't think about maybe even 2 years ago. Like we are working with an NGO called Stop the Traffic, which is in the space of stopping the human trafficking. So IBM Watson AI is being used by them. Or football. Let me give an example to a different area that we are working with. If there are some football fans listening to us now, they will know the football club Sevilla FC or Sevilla FC. So they are using generative AI from Watson X to power their scout advisor. So they have a tool that provides their scouting team to evaluate potential new recruits using the data. But of course, it is not the standard data that will help them search and analyze through the club's existing database, but it also has quantitative data, height, weight, speed, but also qualitative unstructured data that are coming from textual analysis that they are constantly being fed. Or another area, journalism. Journalists in Norway are using again Watson X to investigate the cases that they are running after, to spend more time producing those news instead of getting stuck in the back office operations or doing admin search type of it. I can go on and go on, right? But I wanted to highlight these newcomers into the game seem to be very strong and very innovative. And I would also link that to the point that Kristie made on marketing. All of these are related with the marketing aspects of it, and they're all linked. Therefore, it's tough to highlight on only one. Or the Grammy Awards. We also worked with the Grammy Awards. We created their AI stories, which uses Watson X to create the content using generative AI to be able to enhance the digital fan experience, which is also linked to the marketing aspect of it. So we can go on, but industries that we haven't been expecting to be very active are really coming into the market now.
Thank you, Ebru. I was listening very intently, and as a former journalist, trust me, journalists do need all the help they can get, and if Gen AI can do it, that's fantastic. I'd like to take a question that's been sent in from some of the viewers to this panel, and the question is this: LLMs seem stunning already. What more can they possibly do? Now, we haven't got long. Keep your answers short, ladies and gentlemen. Kristie, can I throw that to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think our LLMs are going to get smarter, right? I think that's the whole point, is that, you know, we started this conversation with, you know, hallucinations and the fact that the data isn't great. So we're just going to continue to see LLMs that get smarter and, you know, more focused on solving very specific industry or, problems that we're trying to solve.
Prerak?
Yeah, I think it'll just get smarter and smarter, as you would see that OpenAI just released GPT-4o, which is smarter, much cheaper than the previous model. And this innovation is happening at a breakneck speed, right? Like every other month, there's a new model, there's advancement in terms of capability. So you'll just keep on seeing this progression. And as Sam Altman has said, like he still sees like we're on the vertical path, which is as you increase the size of the model, you have more capability. So we are nowhere close to where achieving the full potential of this technology yet. So,
thank you. And David?
Same really, yeah. Just faster access. That's one of the keys to it. It's got to. The data's got to be accessed at a certain pace. So yeah, I would say everything that's been said before, but that speed will be the speed and the size of the modules will definitely dictate the use of it.
And finally, on where LLMs are going, Ebru, can you help?
Yes, just looking at it from a different caveat, I will not only focus on LLMs, but I will also go into the SLMs. Small language models, because as David mentioned, the size of the models and the focus, we will also see more and more usage of SLMs as per the need, right? Because you go to a doctor, if you have a pain in your hand, you don't just go to a generalist, right? You just go to the right doctor that is going to help you to cure the issue. So SLMs are like that. We need to, they will help you to deploy faster, and that's where the pace that David mentioned is going to come from. And the other area where we are going to see changes, and I had highlighted it I think in the beginning of this conversation, we will see more and more focus from the organizations on responsibility and ethics side, and everyone will understand that this is an aggregate responsibility. It's not going to be only responsibility of one or few vendors, but overall, all organizations will definitely keep increasing the focus in that area.
Well, you've brought the conversation full circle, which is a perfect way of rounding off. I'd like to thank all four of you for contributing today. It's been absolutely amazing and insightful. Thank you very much, all four.